Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Arnson, Director of the Latin American Program. A pleasure to welcome you to this very difficult seminar on the politics and crisis, humanitarian crisis underway and unfolding in Haiti. In recent months, the country has faced really a succession of crises. In July, the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, another devastating earthquake scarcely a month later, all set against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has further ravaged what is the poorest country in the Americas and among the poorest in the world. In 2020, for example, Haiti ranked 170 out of 189 countries globally in the United Nations Human Development Index. The problems that Haiti faces, political instability, unrest, extreme poverty and inequality, acute vulnerability to climate change and life-threatening weather events, deep corruption, rampant gang violence, read like a textbook overview of state fragility and human vulnerability. What can the international community do to help Haiti overcome these deep and persistent challenges? Why have the previous efforts, including the multi-year UN mission known as MINUSTAH, failed to stabilize the country? And what are the consequences for Haiti's neighbors, particularly the Dominican Republic, which shares the island of Hispaniola, but also the region, also the United States, more broadly, of ongoing instability in Haiti? We have a wonderful group of scholars and former public officials to help us reflect on these questions. We will start with Ambassador Raymond Joseph, who is the former Haitian ambassador to the United States. He will be followed by Pamela White, Ambassador Pamela White, the former US ambassador to Haiti. Then we will hear from Professor Robert Fatone Jr., who is a professor of government and foreign affairs at the University of Virginia. And last but certainly not least, our global fellow Jorge Jaime, who is a research professor at Boston University, and most significantly for this conversation today, the author of Fixing Haiti, MINUSTAH, and Beyond. I'd like to mention to everyone in the audience watching the webinar that you can send a question to the panel in real time by using the comments feature that's on your screen, and we will take as many questions as we can get to during the discussion period. We will start with Ambassador Joseph. I see that you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Greetings, everybody. And at the outset, I'm asking for forgiveness if I am not as diplomatic as my hat, as the hat I wear as a diplomat, because I may say certain things that may not be too diplomatic. First of all, Haiti today, how is the state of Haiti? I think one word just summarizes it: chaos. Haiti is in chaos, but it did not get into this chaos overnight. How did it get there? To the point that today the country is governed by gangs, is overtaken by gangs. About 60%, according to the latest estimates. 60% of the country are under the gangs. How did the gangs get there? They got there by support from the government. That's why I'm saying, maybe saying something that's not diplomatic. Haiti has had problem with gangs before. In 2004, that's why MINUSTAH came in. And at the time, they were called Chimère. And they were from on the president that was elected democratically, President Jovenel Moïse. But before this, we had gangs before. There were official gangs. You know, I have had dealings with Haiti for the past 50 years. Under the François Duvalier, they had the fancy name called the Volunteers of National Security that we all know as Tonton Macoute. But they were, in fact, gangs. So under that dictatorship, which was supported by the international community, the Western international community, because they were anti-communists, we had the gangs, official gangs. Under a democratically elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, we had the Chimère, other gangs. United Nations came in 2004 to help us with the gangs. They did a pretty good job in the beginning, together with a chief of police, Mario Andresol, who was in exile and went back to Haiti and helped clean up the police force too. Then the government came in, government of Preval, and the gangs were quiet. And the elections of 2011 happened. And the international community stood behind a self-proclaimed legal bandit. I'm not giving him the name. He gave himself the name. The legal bandit, Michel, or Michael, if you want, for his American name, Michael Joseph Martelly, who instituted the gangs with the assistance of his prime minister, Laurent Lamotte. They could not buy arms in the United States at the time because there was an embargo on arms to Haiti. They bought the arms in Israel. They arrived in Haiti via Canada. And from 2011, when this legal bandit was quote unquote elected, the gangs started to flourish. They were flourishing under the gaze of the group that we call the core group of Western diplomats. They were there watching it. And after Michel Martelly left, he just turned it over to President Moïse that you just mentioned was assassinated in July. And the gangs got stronger under him because under him, they were federated. And who applauded the federation? Excuse me, Ruth Mega Lalim, who's the head of the Integrated Bureau of the United Nations in Port-au-Prince. So I'm asking, if Haiti is in chaos today, if Haiti is a failed state today, didn't the international community help us to get there? Or didn't the international community that was supposed to come and help us with the MINUSTAH close their eyes as all this mayhem was going around? And now guess what? As the people who set up the gangs, the Michel Martelly, the Laurent Lamotte, are getting ready to come back to power with all the money that they stole from the state, the money from the Petro-Caribe Fund, more than $4.2 billion that they cannot explain what happened to it. And while I'm talking about that, they can't explain either where the $13.5 billion that the United Nations and the Organization of the NGOs collected after 2010 went by to build Haiti back better. I contend that the problems of Haiti will continue to be what they are until Haiti is developed inside the country with corruption and impunity put out. And then Haiti will become the pearl of the Antilles, and its citizens won't have to be running out of the country and landing in a bridge in Del Rio, Texas, and then being sent back to the hell that Haiti is. The international community that helped us, that should have helped us, closed their eyes. And today, the United States of America says, let the Haitians fix it. I think the time has come for Haitians to fix it. But for Haitians to fix it, they won't need the armies of other countries to come in. They'll need to reform their own army that was destroyed by the President Jean-Bertrand Aristide with the support of the international community. And then now we're turning to international armies to come in and help us do it. And what do they bring us? They bring us cholera. And they leave us with a bunch of fatherless children. Yes, Haitians should fix it. The Haitian civil society has come together. They need to be supported for it to happen. That's what I can say about the failed state of Haiti, a failed state just 800 miles from the shores of Florida. The United States cannot close its eyes to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Joseph, for certainly a very sobering, but also a very honest view of what's going on in the country. We'll now turn to Ambassador Pamela White. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ambassador Joseph. The truth hurts sometimes. You've never been afraid to tell it, so thank you. And I would very much like that painting over your head at any time you're sick of it. I'm been asked to speak a little bit about aid to Haiti, and I get a little angry about people consistently saying, well, what? And believe me, when I was ambassador there, the Congress was always saying, you know, well, why didn't you transform Haiti? We gave you 2.8 billion and we gave you billions of dollars and on and on and on. And I always said back to them, listen, a tremendous amount of good came to Haiti after the earthquake. The fact of the matter is Haiti was on its knees. It's almost impossible for people who haven't been to Haiti to understand that 200,000 people were dead in 5 minutes. That you know, half the schools, most of the hospitals, the port, the airport, the roads, they were all destroyed. And to think that 2.5 billion, which was the initial pledge, from 2010 till now, about $5.9 billion has been given to Haiti from the United States of America. In contrast, just so you know, after Katrina in New Orleans, $114 billion was given for their recovery efforts. So 5.9 for a country, 114 billion for a city. In New Orleans, there were about 7,000 dead, and in Haiti, there were 250,000 dead. So you can imagine what kind of real number could have gotten Haiti back on its feet again. And it certainly was not 5.9 billion or the 2.2 billion that I had. But what did we do with that 2.0 billion? We did an enormous amount. We had, first of all, we had to do something with 200,000 people that were dead. Even that was a tremendous effort. And then we had millions and millions and millions of cubic meters of rubble. And by 2013, just 3 years after the earthquake, 80% of that rubble had been taken care of. Much of it was used for bricks and for tiles and for pavement. The fact of the matter was 20,000 Haitians were employed in that effort. 40% of them were women. it was short-term, it was only 3-4 years of employment, but still 20,000 people were employed just getting rid of the rubble. That was a huge effort. 192,000 homes were partially destroyed. 105,000 were completely destroyed. The whole donor community, right after the earthquake, doctors flew in there, builders flew in there, engineers flew in there, the U.S. military flew in there. The U.S. military is not cheap. The hospital Hope right off the shores is $1 million a day effort, but they do life-saving operations. And so what went on the first 2-3 years after the earthquake were, in my opinion, a miracle that anything got done, and a lot got done within that very short period of time. And yes, it cost a lot of money, but we were trying to get a country back on its knees, and a lot of things really did happen. There were 2 million people that were homeless. There were 1.5 million people in tents and camps. They were given water. They were given food. Was it beautiful? Was it mansions? Was it? No. But the international community came to Haiti and gave at least shelter and food to 1.5 and 1.2, 1.5 million people for a period of 3-4 years in order that we could establish some kind of alternate shelters, which we did for about 1 million people over 6-7 years. It took a long time. The recovery in New Orleans, by the way, took about 18 months. Because the United States has what it needs in terms of tools and people and specialists to get in there and build and take away all the things that the hurricane had destroyed. But Haiti doesn't have those tools and those peoples and those skills. And so it's going to take a hell of a lot longer, but we also need money. It takes money to change a country. And in my opinion, we never gave enough money. But here's one of the saddest things about the earthquake, aftermath or side story was cholera. Haiti had never, when I first served in Haiti in the 80s, no one had ever heard of cholera in Haiti. And all of a sudden the UN troops brought cholera to Haiti. And then in 2010, there were 500,000 cases of cholera, 7,000 deaths. In 2013, there were 650,000 cases and there were 10,000 deaths. How many cases of cholera have there been in Haiti over the last 2 years? None, 0. And that is because of immense international, very much started by the United States of America with some fabulous doctors and research geniuses like Dr. Pap in Haiti. And this is something that, I think you have to really look at and say, good things, in fact, did happen in Haiti. The HIV/AIDS, when they first started going to Haiti, it was a 5.9 or 6% prevalence of HIV/AIDS in Haiti. Today, it's a little less than 2%. The live sale by the incredible PEPFAR efforts that were undergone in Haiti over the years are really, really substantial and have saved many, many, many millions of lives. And they have also set up something called the CBS, which is a system of gathering surveillance, case-based surveillance it's called, and it's an electronic system. All the centers all over Haiti put data into the system so that it could be analyzed by the Ministry of Health. It was named one of the most successful CBS systems in the world 2 years ago. So like I say, there are some good things that are coming from Haiti. One of the not such great success stories, I must say, has been the education system. That also was devastated during the earthquake. Somebody said it was the Haiti education system completely collapsed. Half the teachers were gone, half the schools were gone, half the ways to getting into the school completely gone. But a fair amount of money has gone into rebuilding the system. It has not been particularly effective. I can't say that it's something that the international community can brag about. But again, in my opinion, it is also one of these things that it's just lacking money. I mean, it's a simple way of saying it, but it just does lack money. Just a quick fast analysis. In Haiti, there's 11 million people. And in my home state of Maine, there's 1.3 million people. In Haiti, there's 375,000 students. That's a guesstimate. Half of them aren't going, some of them are, we don't know. In Maine, there's 180,000 students. The budget for Haiti, annual budget for education for primary school only is $435 million. In Maine, it's $2.86 billion. In Haiti, 90% of the schools are private, and in Maine, about 5% are private. So the differences are so startling. How can you transform an education system that collapsed 10 years ago, 11 years ago, with a budget of, the international community gives about $100 million a year. It sounds like a lot of money when you're talking to somebody, and when someone says, well, we're giving Haiti billions of dollars. But in reality, compared to what the United States spends, like on Katrina, or what my state spends on education, it is just a tiny bit of money. And so there's lots of things wrong with Haiti. I wasn't asked to speak about, which I'd be happy to do later, about the corruption, about the gangs, about the lack of governance. All of this also contributes to a lack of ability to move on with some of the development dollars that are coming into the country. But I listened to something last week that said, 99% of the money that was given to Haiti wasn't spent in Haiti. That's just not true. Nothing happened with the money that was given to Haiti. That's just not true. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador White, for reminding us of not only the magnitude of the needs, but what the international community actually has done and has attempted to contribute to. We will now turn to Ambassador, am I pronouncing it correctly, Fatone, or is it Fatone?
Yeah, and I'm not an ambassador, I'm just a professor.
Excuse me, professor. There you go. Too many ambassadors in front of me. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. Well, I share many of the ideas that Ambassador Joseph has put forward. I'm going to take a little different track and say that I'm quite pessimistic about Haiti's future for the short and the medium term, because I think that the internal and external conditions have not fundamentally changed since the earthquake. In fact, internally, the political situation has worsened. Those who govern have very, very limited, if any, legitimacy. The Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, is the only politician who has a shred of authority, as he was picked by one of the few remaining elected Haitian officials, Jovenel Moïse, just before his assassination. And we know the controversies surrounding that election and Jovenel Moïse's presidency. The rest of the regime is, in fact, de facto. Despite having reached an agreement last September with some segments of the opposition, namely Secteur démocratique et populaire of André Michel and the PHTK of Michel Martelly, Ariel Henry has been unable or unwilling to reach a larger consensual pact with civil society, principally the various parties and organizations which have signed the so-called Montana Agreement. In addition, Ariel Henry has managed to alienate the supporters of Jovenel Moïse, the most intimate supporters, the so-called Jovenelists, and that might create more problem. As we know, most of them have been removed from the current government. And what I must say is that all of the alliances that I'm seeing and the political formation that are emerging are rather opportunistic. Some of them are unnatural and extremely fragile because they contain very different ideological persuasions, and they have very different personalities with very different views of how to govern Haiti. What is ironic, however, is that all of those parties have rhetorically committed to elaborate a Haitian solution to Haitian problems. The problem is that most of them are actually calling for some form of foreign intrusion, whether it is open or whether it is really kind of more or less invisible, as it were. So politically, I don't think anything has fundamentally changed. Another critical problem is the reality that politics remains a business, as Ambassador Joseph has pointed out, where politicians fight for public office to enrich themselves and their clients. And this struggle has become more desperate because the state is essentially bankrupt and prebendary resources are increasingly scarce. And this situation has exacerbated and aggravated the virtual collapse of public order and the increasing power of criminal gangs, which are controlling large sections of Port-au-Prince. In fact, the country, and especially the capital city, are engulfed in a climate of generalized insecurity. Finally, the economic situation is catastrophic, and extreme poverty is increasing at a rather alarming scale. Social inequalities are as indecent as ever, and government officials seem unwilling or incapable of dealing with these issues. Public policies have remained stuck in a now, in my view, discredited neoliberalism that has eviscerated the state and destroyed whatever national productive capacities had existed. The opening up of the economy has also contributed to accentuate the agricultural crisis, and ultimately, Haiti now produces very little for export or basic domestic needs and imports virtually everything that it needs for its survival. Sadly, in my mind, there is no indication that any of these policies and the conditions that they have produced will end anytime soon. Now, let me turn my attention to the international arena. And there is no doubt that Haiti is utterly dependent on foreign powers, and that these powers have immense influence on how the country is governed or misgoverned. For instance, in the aftermath of the assassination of Jovenel Moïse, a simple tweet from the core nations kept Claude Joseph as prime minister, and another, a few days afterwards, led to his downfall and his replacement by Ariel Henry. Most Haitians know that this is, as we say in French, une réalité incontournable, a historical fact, as it were. Foreign intrusions and meddling have tended to leave a trail of sorrows and new problems in the country. On the other hand, as I have indicated, Haitian politicians, in their majority, have appealed for such intrusion. As far as I'm concerned, this reality persists. Similarly, there is more continuity than change in the behavior of the major powers. It is true that Biden's foreign policy remains a work in progress and seems to be extremely cautious, as it recognizes that another military intervention might lead to one of those nation-building exercises that are quite unpopular at home and have very dubious results. In this perspective, the United States is wishing that its support for Ariel Henry and for a so-called largely inclusive solution to the crisis will bring in the short term some stability and some kind of acceptable elections. In the meantime, Washington will provide some logistical support to the police to fight the gangs and establish a modicum of social order. Basically, and to say it very frankly, the Biden administration is hoping that Haiti will disappear from the headlines and that the immigration problems will stop with the help of Mexico and, if necessary, with more deportations. This may be, in my mind, wishful thinking, as it is very unlikely that the current political, economic, and security crisis will be resolved with quick elections or the restoration of a semblance of public order. To conclude, there are two more important issues confronting the Haitian government. The first is that so far, public authorities have not moved aggressively to find those responsible for the assassinations of both President Jovenel Moïse and Montferrier Dorval, the head of the Port-au-Prince bar. And finally, while COVID has not had the devastating health consequences that might have been expected, only some 700 people have died. The statistics may be underestimating that number, but it's still a very small number. And given the health system in Haiti, if death were pervasive, we would see dead bodies in the streets. So this is kind of a miracle that nothing has really happened in terms of the health system, and that people have managed to survive without vaccines, essentially, and without any type of lockdowns. But on the other hand, what COVID has done is really scarred the economy, and more particularly the living conditions of women and children. So in other words, it has increased poverty. Ultimately, I think Haitians have to realize that only themselves and not foreign powers can extricate their country from its current predicament. That in turn requires that its political class and civil society reach a compromise to create a transitional government of national unity with the capacity to establish an effective state before plunging into premature elections that can only lead to an illegitimate outcome and increased instability. Failing this, the crisis will continue. And I'm afraid that Haiti may again suffer the presence of foreign troops on its soil. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that incredibly sobering overview. Jorge Caine, who has written about MINUSTAH, knows a lot about what the international community did to try to assist Haiti after the earthquake. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Cindy. And thank you for the opportunity to be in this panel. I really appreciate it. I've been associated with Haiti one way or another for the past 40 years, and have seen the ups and downs. Through my visits, my Haitian students, some wonderful Haitian colleagues that I've been privileged to have and to work with over the course of my long life. And I've seen many things from the days of Baby Doc through the transition, military coups, the election of Jean-Bertrand Aristide, where I was an election observer for the OAS in Cap-Haïtien. And I must say, I haven't seen many things. I've never seen such a depressing, such a bad situation in these 40 years as it is now. It's been mentioned, the murder of the president, the earthquake, kidnappings. It's really a very bad situation on the ground. And the contrast between this and what I sense is the remarkable indifference of the international community about what is happening. I take full note of what Ambassador White was saying about what was done in the past decade, and of course that's been very important. But in terms of what is happening now, there is no appetite for doing anything. So this contrast between the tragedies that we see on the ground and an international community that is looking away, pretending it's not happening, I find very striking. There is a Spanish saying, I would put it in those terms, me duele Haiti. And that is why I think this panel is so important. And if we could sort of rattle the cage a little bit and gain some attention for what is happening in Haiti, I think it will have been very much worth it. So I will not go into the weeds, as it were, of Haitian politics, about which Professor Fatone, who had a wonderful chapter in the book I edited on fixing Haiti. But I would rather take what we might call a sort of big picture perspective on the Haitian state and the way forward. And it's been mentioned in this panel, the notion of Haiti as a fragile state, by which in political science is meant a state that is unable to discharge the basic functions and services to the majority of populations, or the population which it is supposed to do. That is the definition of a fragile state. And that was very much the feature of Haiti for a long time. But I would argue that is no longer the case. Haiti has moved from the condition as a fragile state to the condition of a failed state. By failed state, we mean a state in which basically the state withers away and loses the monopoly of the use of force, and it is replaced by the gangs that Ambassador Joseph and Professor Fatone mentioned. And of course, the classic example of that, we all know that is Somalia in the 1990s. We all, of course, know what the result of that was, how Somalia became a haven for terrorists and for organized crime. And it seems to me, it is important for us to realize that Haiti may well be moving in that direction. As it has been said, with 60% of the territory controlled by gangs, with kidnappings becoming a standard operating procedure. It's apparently a very profitable business model. We have had a number of missionaries, US missionaries that were kidnapped. Some of them have been released, not all. Well, a very tricky situation. Now, with the crisis reaching boiling point earlier this year, the question has come up again, what to do about Haiti? And what I found extraordinary, reviewing the literature again, earlier, a new concept has come up in relation to Haiti. And the notion that has been put forward is that Haiti is not so much a failed state as an aid state. By that is meant that it's not that what the international community has done, what the United Nations has done, what the US has done was so much insufficient or even misguided. The argument that has been put forward is that this was simply counterproductive, that what that international aid, what that international cooperation did was basically create a situation of dependency in which both government officials, and also the population became used to having foreigners, to having foreign entities run the country for them. And that, of course, would be at the root of Haiti's maladies. And what needs to be, it's a similar diagnosis to what is said about, say, the beneficiaries of social welfare, which is said that is bad for them. People stop working because they get welfare. Well, this same model is applied to the case of Haiti. Now, if that is the case, the logical reasoning that follows this is, well, what you must do is simply let Haiti stew in its own problems. And then they will learn the lesson and they will not do it again. Now, I have a real problem with that. But unfortunately, it seems to me, it serves as sort of intellectual cover for the international community actually not doing anything, since there is no appetite to intervene further in Haiti. Where the United States has just gotten out of Afghanistan. We all know how that played out. There's no interest in getting into something similar in Haiti. In Latin America, unfortunately, right now, we don't have the attitude, the disposition that existed in the 2000s to take such an active and leading role as countries like Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay took in MINUSTAH. So, well, nobody does anything. And there are perfectly good reasons, it is argued, for not doing so. Moreover, on top of that is added the argument that the Haitian people themselves are sick and tired of foreign interventions. Cholera, there's alleged sexual abuse by UN troops during MINUSTAH. Therefore, the best thing is not to do anything and let things in Haiti take their own course. I have very serious problems with that kind of argument. First of all, because the duty of humanitarian intervention, of humanitarian cooperation today is to help people in need people that are confronting humanitarian catastrophes. That is what is happening in Haiti. To start arguing about sort of the deep reasons for it and so on, when people are going through the sort of things they are going through, seems to me really a bit cynical, to put it mildly. And there's another reason, it seems to me, why this argument is so wrong-headed, the argument about the so-called aid state. The argument of the aid state starts from the premise that the international community had really nothing to do, had no responsibility for the current condition of Haiti. Yet, of course, that is not the case. From the very first moment, Haiti came into being as the first republic in Latin America. We all know what the attitude of the big powers was. We all know the reparations exacted by France until 1947, mind you, which transformed France's richest colony into what is today the poorest state in the Americas. In the more recent past, Professor Fatone mentioned the bad situation of agriculture in Haiti. Until the late 90s, Haiti was self-sufficient in rice. Now, thanks to the neoliberal policies imposed from abroad in the early 2000s, today Haiti doesn't hardly produce any rice and imports it mostly from the United States. So again, the notion of the international community bears no responsibility for the current predicament of Haiti is quite wrong-headed. So what I would like to leave with you is the notion that action is urgent. It needs to be done. The question, of course, is, what to do. We all know the United States is unwilling to go into its own, and for very good reason. It's perfectly understandable why the Biden administration would see things that way. In an ideal world, I would say the OAS could play an important role here. This is the Americas, and it's something we should work for. This is one of the things I think the OAS was set up in the first place. Unfortunately, the OAS is in such a deep crisis of credibility in the past 2 years that nobody seriously would think that could happen. So I would submit to you that the sort of last resort that we can look at is the United Nations. And that, of course, would mean that the United States, the only member of the P5 that could take a leadership role here to authorize the action in the Security Council, would be willing to say, okay, let us go ahead. And I would think that with that, and the leadership of some Latin American countries, maybe Mexico, maybe Argentina, maybe Chile, something could be undertaken to look for ways. Obviously, this would have to be done in close consultation with Haitians, with Haitian civil society, with various Haitian entities, and look for a solution. But it seems to me the notion that sort of to let things fester is not the best way forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to you and to everybody. We have a lot of really great questions, and I'm going to try as best I can to combine some of them. Please do not feel obligated, each of you on the panel, to address each question, because there are certainly plenty to go around. I'm going to start with a two-part question. The first part from former U.S. Ambassador Vicki Huddleston, a question for Ambassador Joseph, and also I think Professor Fatone could respond to this. The question is, what exactly should the United States do to support Haitian civil society? It seems like we always do it wrong and support the wrong leaders. And that is, I think, complemented by a question from Amber Lynn Munger, who is a senior program officer at the American Jewish World Service. She says that in the Biden administration, the new catchword is a broad-based Haitian-led solution. But she also notes that the United States does not seem to want to accept a Haitian broad-based solution that does not include the current ruling party, the PHTK. So she asks if anyone has any insights, perhaps you, Ambassador White, why is there ongoing support for Henri despite the increasing insecurity and the lack of progress on the investigation into the assassination? So let's start with Ambassador Joseph with the solution. I think that Professor Fatone had talked about a broad-based coalition government, and then come back to if anyone can interpret why it is the Biden administration is unwilling to abandon the current ruling party. So who wants to start? Perhaps Ambassador Joseph.
Okay. First of all, we'll turn to a U.S. Special Envoy himself, Daniel Foote. Daniel Foote explains how they did not listen to what he said. He suggests, and I stand with that we should support the broad-based Montana Accord, where more organization and civil society and political organization have gotten together and presented a plan for Haiti, more detailed plan than anybody, and has more support all over. I believe the United States should listen to his own special envoy. Yes, Haiti cannot be left alone. I didn't ask for invasion of Haiti, nothing like that. But a support for a Haitian solution that has been presented by a broad-based group. That's what they should do.
Okay, Professor Fatone, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I think the US wants a quick solution, which is not going to be a good solution if it's done quickly. And there has been some movement, but it's still the idea that elections have to take place maybe in February or March. And to me, this is completely insane, because you can't have elections given the security situation in Haiti. You don't even have the logistical mechanism in place to have any type of election. If we go that way, the election will be immediately illegitimate and will be in a deeper crisis. So I think there is a short-term vision we need to get out. And I think also the Biden administration's foreign policy to Haiti is very nebulous. We don't know what it is. They talk about a broader inclusive coalition, but it's very clear that at least people in Haiti look at it and say, well, they are really supporting the Ariel Henry regime. So there is tension there. So the issue for the US and for the Biden administration is whether they are willing to support a long-term solution, which may not and should not, in my mind, involve an immediate election, but a restoration of public order. And there is a very big question there. The question is whether we can restore the police to some sort of functioning police. That's one question. Or whether we should really completely change our mind about an armed force and rebuild an armed force in Haiti. We know that in the past, the armed force was much more repressive mechanism against the population than really something that was constructive for the country. But given the current conditions, is an army a potential safety valve, as it were, or a reconstruction of the police? Finally, one thing that I wanted to address with Jorge, because he said the international community should get involved in Haiti. Well, I don't think the international community is not involved in Haiti. I think it's the type of involvement. And I think what Haitians are asking is for solidarity instead of interferences and intrusion. And there is a fine line between the two, because currently, no one in Haiti believes that the foreign community is not involved in the political decision-making process or the programs of economic development. I'll leave it at that.
Ambassador White, do you want to comment at all on?
Yeah, I mean, I cannot speak for the Biden administration. I certainly have not been asked to do so in any form or way, but I do think that this support for Henri, I don't understand it. I don't think it's the right way forward. I believe that we should get behind whatever Haitian solutions are, but I mean, I've heard some of the outlines of what they've decided. In my personal opinion, no, there should be a coalition government for at least a period of 2 years, if not longer. The elections are ridiculous, and we kept talking about elections until about, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I mean, Ambassador Merton, Daniel Foote, and myself were talking, no, you cannot hold elections within this this instability that exists there. Yet they kept talking about them, and then they started to support Henri, and I don't understand it, and I don't think it's the right way forward. Any coalition government, in my opinion, should not be on the group that selects to lead the country, cannot be political seekers that are going to use a transition government in order to gain power, to be popular in an election afterwards. If you're on the transition government, that's it. You cannot have a public office for the next 5 years. We cannot mix up grandstanding for publicity and popularity with trying to get the country on track again. And I would also like very much for the diaspora to get involved with whatever group leads the country as thinkers, as people that can calm down the country, that are unbiased by the powers that be the political powers, the private sector powers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Haiti, I agree, Haiti is a mess. It's a failed state. It is, when I left, I left in 2015, there was maybe one kidnapping a month. Now there's never a day that goes by. Haiti was just named the kidnapping capital of the world. We have a real problem. Now, what to do about security? Huge question. I've put forth all kinds of different ideas, but let me tell you, I don't think the UN is coming in. I don't think the Marines are coming in. I think that they've already looked at it and decided that that's probably not the way forward. So now what do we do? Well, again, I mean, it's going to have to be a Haitian decision. The United States government, for the only time that I remember from scratch, we started an army in Liberia. It cost tens of millions of dollars, and that is a hugely, for just 2,000 troops, hugely expensive undertaking. When I left in 2015, the National Haitian Police was functioning. They had special units that were trained by special units in the United States. They had a huge amount of people that came, police officers from New York City and Miami that spoke Creole, that came down as advisors. They were fabulous. They helped keep the police well trained and on mark. And I think that in order to move forward, we're going to have that kind of solution. I would suggest that the Haitians start talking to the Miami Police Department, the New York Police Department, and Southcom. I don't know who the general is and head of Southcom right now, but I know General Kelly was extremely interested in what went on in Haiti, because he could see that if we just let Haiti rot, that something is going to happen that will be very bad for the United States. Drug trafficking, child slavery, people on our borders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just looking the other way, which I don't understand at all, is not a solution in the national interest of either Haiti or the United States.
Great.
Cindy, can I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yes, just very briefly to follow up on what my good friend, Professor Fatone said on the very complex question of the armed forces and the national police, and also to complement what Ambassador White has said. My reading is that one of the success stories in Haiti in the first decade of this century was the building up of the Haitian National Police. They took a lot of work, they had a wonderful leader, a lot of money went into it, a lot of training. And it seems to me you ought to build on strengths and continue to develop that. For the purposes of public order, what you need is a police. You don't need the army for that. And it seems to me if that can be picked up, I'm fully aware that under Martelly, that became less of a priority, and since then things have not gone well. But instead of undertaking the very complex task of re-establishing Haitian armed forces, which in the past had a very checkered record, I would suggest a very concrete task is continue to rebuild and build on the Haitian National Police. I think that would be a great priority in which a lot of people could agree on. Thank you.
Agree.
Great. That actually answers a question from Maureen Taft Morales from Congressional Research Service about what to do to confront gangs. And she reminds us in a recent brief that she wrote for the US Congress kidnappings increased by 200% in 2020 over 2019. Murders were up by 20%, rapes up by 12%. Anyway, the challenges are enormous. I'd like to change tacks a little bit and pick up something that a number of you have commented on, Jorge, as well as Ambassador White, which has to do with the agricultural sector in Haiti and the substitution of domestic production for imports. Is there a path forward for restoring Haitian agriculture? And that comes from Susan Barnes, a financial analyst. Given the number of people still in rural areas, is there a way to rebuild the agricultural sector in the country? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, the way to do it is to start with the program of decentralization. In 2010, I resigned my post as ambassador. I wanted to run for president because I saw that they needed new leadership, because after the earthquake from Washington, I had to be representing Haiti. I was representing Haiti. My program then that I presented, that I think it's still needed now, is to decentralize Haiti. All the power, all the money, all the institution, everything should not be concentrated in Port-au-Prince. Once that's done, we can develop the rest of the country. And that the money that comes for Haiti, I hear about all the money that Ambassador Pamela White talked about. All that money goes into the pockets of politicians. Today, we have quite a few multimillionaires in Haiti. Even the poor priest who was president is a millionaire, multimillionaire. We have to address corruption and impunity and get the funds to develop Haiti, not to help support Port-au-Prince much more to become the central place where everything happens.
Okay. There are lots more good questions. I wish I could get to them all, including what, if anything, is happening in the investigation into the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. I'm going to take one last question from Martin Cordia of Church World Service. Goes off on a slightly different tack. What should be the short, medium, and long-term role of the Dominican Republic in the Haitian crisis, and how can the US contribute to that? Obviously shares a border, shares the island of Hispaniola, is the country that is most affected by these multi-layered crises in Haiti, including the consequences of migration. And we'll do one last round on that, and then I'm afraid we are out of time. Anybody want to talk about what the DR should do or not do?
Well, I think this is a very difficult question, because you know the relationship between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Many Haitians feel that the Dominican Republic is intruding like a kind of a mini giant into Haiti, calling for external solutions, external interventions. And there is also the reality that a lot of Haitians are in the Dominican Republic because they have exited Haiti as a result of the economic crisis. And now we have a lot of Haitians who are being deported into Haiti. There's even talk about a wall to divide the two republics. So it's a complicated question, but clearly there is a problem between the two countries. It has to be resolved by more cooperation. And in the last few months, that cooperation has been to some extent lacking because of some very nationalistic declarations on the part of the Haitians as a reaction to what is perceived as the Dominican Republic intruding into Haiti's political crisis. But we have a problem of deportation, a problem of labor that exists also in the Dominican Republic, because a lot of Haitians are doing work that the Dominican Republic itself don't want to do. So the problem remains, and I'm not sure how you can patch up that relationship. Hopefully that will happen, because the two republics have to coexist. So that's my hope, but it's a tough question.
Yeah, there's no magic bullets there. I mean, there's a love-hate relationship between the two countries. It's been there forever, it seems to me. There are certain things that we did in the health sector, cholera, malaria especially, that we signed joint accords with, and they worked really, really well at a certain level. But I mean, it was a success story. But the Haitian laborers going into the DR have always been exploited. When there's a certain disease, I mean, I remember the black pigs that were killed, that had disease in the DR, and then they did not have in Haiti, and yet they killed all the black pigs in Haiti, which was a disaster, I might add. One of my 8 disaster stories. But so there have been some. But I do think that some support is really needed at the upper levels, and that it would be great. But I keep thinking, and soul searching about what role is the United States playing in the world right now, and how are other countries basing what we're doing to make their own behavior, shape their own foreign assistance behavior. And I think it's not. I think it's a pretty big problem. And I think we just had the Gambia, where I used to be ambassador, just had elections over there. It was a great election, and the current president won. But right away there was all these opposition in the streets, and they were running around saying no to a fake election. And where do you think they got all that from? It's hard to stand up anymore and say, oh, don't do that, when in fact that's what we're doing right now. I think we're going through a very tough time in the United States, both domestically and internationally. And these gangs, by the way, in Haiti are terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. That's all they are. They're fully weaponized. They work around the clock. They don't give a damn about anybody's human rights, and they're domestic terrorists. And something's got to have to be done about it.
Okay, Ambassador Joseph, we're going to give you the last word. Please go ahead.
Until Haiti is helped to develop itself, to have employment in the country, and keep its force there, we will have problems, not only for the Dominican Republic, where the Haitians will just cross the border, but for all of Latin America, where all the refugees have gone, even for the United States, where the refugees have reached the border of Texas. It's develop Haiti itself. And to develop Haiti, I repeat again, we have to decentralize it. If we don't develop Haiti, help develop Haiti, what do you think the people are going to go? They won't be able to stay. They won't stay in the hell, and they start going to Dominican Republic, and it's going to cause problem there. It's going to cause problem for the rest of Latin America. So I repeat, if we had a Marshall Plan for Europe after it was destroyed in war by the same powers that destroyed it, we should do something for Haiti to develop the country with uncorrupted leadership. But that needs to be done. Unless we do that, we'll have the problem of Haiti all over.
On that note, we will bring this session to an end. Thank you all, Ambassador Joseph, Ambassador White, Professor Fatone, Jorge Jaime, for this conversation. I think we've heard a lot about what not to do as well as what to do. Professor Fatone, there were a number of comments about the Army, rebuilding the Army not being a good idea. That is not a body that should have a role in internal security, rather build on the police. Anyway, thank you all for the audience. Thank you for your questions. The video of this session will be on our website momentarily. If any of you, particularly Professor Fatone, had a prepared presentation that you would allow us to include on the web, Jorge, others, we would welcome that. So thank you again. And we will continue to grapple with this very difficult situation. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.